Hi, this is Sandy with Simply Blessed. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you had a wonderful holiday and that you're ready to go and look forward to 2023. My channel is about simplicity and how to create things simply in your home so that you can alleviate chaos from your life and also so that you can enjoy life more and have a much more peaceful existence. I thought today that before we go into looking at what we want 2023 to look like, and in my last video I talked about I am not setting goals, I am setting systems. So before I go into really setting systems and looking at what I want to bring about new expectations in my life for 2023, I want to look at what is no longer working. So what I asked myself is, how do I know when something is no longer working? How do I know if it's more problematic and bringing more things into my life that make me lose serenity and peace? How do I know this? What are some of the clues to let me know? The first thing that I realized is when I have a sense of dread. So number one is having a sense of dread. If there is dread around a project, a person, a relationship, a thing, or something in your life, if dread overshadows the peace and serenity, then maybe it's the time to really take a look at that. Why am I always feeling dread? It can be as simple as this example in my life. I do not ever really dread cleaning my kitchen or taking a shower, making my bed, or even vacuuming. Those things I don't dread. And the reason why is because I've made those practices in my life very, very simple. But one thing that I dread is vacuuming my car. My two dogs, Jazzy and Meg, they go with me almost anywhere and everywhere, and they ride in the back seat of my car. But the Papillon, she sheds so terribly, and I have figured out a way to deal with that within my whole house, but not in my car. So I put a lot of thought and a little bit of prayer into this, and I thought, why is it that I will let my car go for months until I actually even dread it, until I'm driving down the road, I have their little window down, and I see white hair flying around. Why is I wait till it's so bad before I actually go do it? And I figured out that is the problem. Number one, I'm letting it go for too long, and then whenever I do have to tackle it, it is a huge job. And another thing is, it seems like no matter how much time I could work for 3 hours on it, I'm still gonna see hair and it's still going to not feel clean to some extent. So I thought I need to get rid of the perfectionist attitude. I need to just know that my car, just like my house, is always going to have, to some degree, some level of dog hair in it because I have dogs. I'm going to set my timer, and once a week, I'm going to set my timer and pull my car out of the garage and vacuum it for at least 10 to 20 minutes, one time a week. Probably 20 minutes is too long, so probably 10 minutes and then do a real quick wipe down. So if I stay on top of it, maybe the dread will lessen. So number two, how do I know, or what is a clue in my life that this is no longer working? And I decided it's probably doesn't leave me exhausted and totally waylaid and laid out. Living with autoimmune diseases, there are some things that people my age and even 10, 15 years older that do not deal with this type of exhaustion. An example of this in my life is exercise. I have to be very careful about exercise. Prior to autoimmune disease, I could work full time. I could do my total home blessing in one day and then go hike a 10K. But today I can't do that. I have to break down my household chores, like my Fly Lady house blessing that is usually done on Monday. I have to do that throughout the week. I can only do 1 or 2 of the daily tasks during the day. So that is spread throughout the week. I still enjoy walking and being out in nature because it's very therapeutic to me mentally and emotionally. So I hated giving up my walking or hiking, but what I have finally done is I have brought that all the way down to 10 minutes. And so now whenever I take the dogs to the dog park, I walk the perimeter of the dog park, and I chart that on my Fitbit. And that way I feel like I have been outside, I've gotten a little bit of exercise, but it doesn't totally waylay me. Another thing that I ask myself is this an old expectation for the old me, or is this an expectation that someone else has put on me? Bringing those things into your life, it probably needs to be taken a really good close look at, and maybe you can actually start saying no to that. Are people asking me to do things that I don't want to do? Am I doing things for people that they need to be doing for themselves? Am I taking responsibility for other people's emotions or moods or their existence, when really my peace and serenity is the only thing that I can be responsible for? Instead of automatically saying yes when someone asks me to do something, I say, let me pray about that for 3 days. Number 4 is taking a very close look at my family relationships, friendships, and asking myself, do I have peace and serenity within that relationship? And give myself the right to set boundaries on how much time I'm going to spend with that person, how much I'm going to divulge to that person, how close I'm going to be and interact with that person. And I have the right to set that boundary with every single person in my life, whether it's a child, a daughter, a son, husband, friend, a relative. And I have done that to some degree with some of my relationships. And because I want most of my relationships that are close to be at least 50-50. The next thing is I've had to really take a look at are my hobbies, and I picked up a couple of new hobbies this year that I really did like. In 2022, I joined a cross-stitch group, and I also joined a book reading club, and both of those have been a lot of fun, and I've met a lot of neat people. The problem with it is they meet at night, and I am not a night person. By 6 o'clock, I am ready to wind down. These meetings start at 6:30 or 7, and that means I have to get up, get dressed, go to the meeting, come back, put my energy into it, and I realize that but the next day, I'm really, really exhausted. So one thing I have done is ask if I could meet them online, and they said yes. They had I'm able to stay at home if I want to, and still talk to them about the book that we're reading or cross stitch or whatever with them, but I'm doing it from the comfort of my own home. So that had to be adjusted. Another thing about hobbies is I have realized that I don't like to deal with hobbies that are messy, that there's a lot of components to it. I love to sew, I love to do crafts, but I don't like super huge projects. And I started making gnomes this year, which was a lot of fun. But before I knew it, I had my room, my office was just bombarded with a lot of stuff. And it actually, I lose my peace and serenity over that. I was just like, I've got to do something. So I got rid of some of it, and I honed it down to one box where I can make my gnomes, and it's very easy to put away, very easy to get out. There's not that many steps, and so I'm still enjoying it, but it's not just completely destroying one part of my house. The next thing that I have done is I have totally tried to get sugar out of my diet. And the reason why I did that is I began following a nutritionist, and her name is Leanne Ely. And I started following her on YouTube and on Facebook. And because of autoimmune disease, eating well is it is just so important. Eating processed food and eating sugar and junk was not working for me, even though I did it only like 25% of the time. So I had to close that door and say, no. And I'm having a sugar-free Christmas. I'm having a sugar-free year. I am not going there. If I fail, it's okay. I'll pick myself up and dust myself off, but then I will keep going. But that is really one of my goals, because what is not working for me is allowing that door to be opened a little bit, and the next thing I know, It's totally wide open, and I'm letting any excuse be used for why I can have that processed junk food in my body. And I've lost about 10 pounds in the last 2 months since I'm doing this, and I'm just feeling a whole lot better. And I've met a lot of great women on the Facebook group. So these are some things that I am looking at that has no longer worked, and how I am tweaking them or totally getting them out of my life. Realizing that are some things that are not working, and it's just as important to get rid of those things as it is to adapt new behaviors for the upcoming year. So thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you soon. And with that, I'll say Happy New Year, and keep life simple. It should not be complicated.